Hey, welcome back. So we did do a lot of the discussion of components and setup. I didn't really explain the rules too deeply, and as promised, between videos I found the miniatures, or at least I think I did. So a couple comments. The first one, I had said in the previous video that the ally deck was for Street Masters. I'm pretty sure I got the name right. It's Street Masters. I was dead wrong. The Allies and Rivals is like a variant in this game. So, for example, you can take a rival and it would just be like an extra suspect on the board, and it's somebody extra you have to rest and do things with. Like, actually, this here is Street Master, because see here, each fighter discards 3 defense tokens to deal Lotus 1 damage. These are the Street Master ones. See how they're black? Whereas this is not Street Master. That's what got me confused. Okay, now I feel so much better. All right, so this is actually a rival in this game, whereas these are Street Master cards. So there's what, 1, 2, 4 of them. And remember, I have a lot of expansions, folks, so I don't think any of these came with the base game. So if you're thinking, hey, I'll get some Street Master stuff, like I know for sure these 2 came in the same box. Actually, that one also did. Actually, I think all 4 of these came in the same box. Now, if I can remember which one, I will tell you. I think it's Keys to the Kingdom. I think that's the box these came in, but don't hold me to it. Anyways, like I said, these are for Street Masters. However, the other ones are not. So this is actually the same terminology or the same notations as just any other suspect. So for example, this guard dog here would actually be a rival, and you do it to increase the difficulty of your game or to add some more flavor. So for example, this guard dog, each crime that's near the rival adds 1 to each of its resistances. So the dog, until we take it out and bust the dog, it's going to cause problems. And then every time it activates, it's going to move 6 towards the nearest crime. Now that same guard dog, if you flip it over, could also be an ally. So we could have a police ally. And again, this is optional. So since I'm playing as just one single character, I could choose to have an ally with me. So I don't want to necessarily control 2 characters, because maybe that's a bit too much. But what I can do is I can control 1 character and have an ally. And so this ally will do stuff, and it'll give me extra dice. And in fact, I can put some stress on the dog instead of on me. And if the dog ever gets 5 stress, of course, it's out of the game. However, that's like adding 5 more stress to my character. So this is a nice option. So if we get our butts thumped here, you may see me try this. And I think this is better than trying to control 2 characters, right? You can control 1.5, and all it does is like it moves and it gives you this 1 bonus, and it can absorb some of your stress. So that's fantastic. And so that's something you can do. And everything in the game, like Eli Alonso can be a rival and Eli Alonso can be an ally. So every card has 2 sides. And so I misrepresented that, folks. Now, this guy is actually one of the gangsters. He's one of the suspects, right? But since we're going after Slade, we chose not to go after Gus, but maybe Gus is still going to cause us some problems. So we can actually put him there, and he can be in the game too, or as well. And then here we can actually have Gus as a snitch, right? And so he's working with us. And even our own guy, Slade, is probably in here. There he is. So that's the guy we're going after right now. I don't recommend making him a rival in the same game where he's the gangster. I don't think that would turn out very well for you. So yeah, there you have it. We're not going to play with this variant today. So along with all the other variants, we're just going to shut all those off right now. And then once I get more comfortable with the game, I will definitely want to turn those on and just see how they play. Okay, so as far as miniatures go, I wanted to say that choosing the base game only, the crime, the suspect, and even the cops was a boon, because there's so many miniatures in this game, and of course they're sorted by the box that they came in right now. But because I stuck with the base game, I only had to search the base game for the miniatures. These miniatures are a pain in the butt. I think the Sadler brothers said that they included these because the Kickstarter people wanted them, and they didn't feel it was necessary. And from my perspective, it's absolutely necessary. But so here's the thing. The first one was in the base game, you have all the cops, and they have their own miniature. So it took me a while just to find and figure out that, you know, which miniature goes to which cop. And so that's what I did. And then I think I found the one for us, Gabe Fulton, which does not match his picture. Because see how he's pointing a gun straight out? I mean, his picture shows him holding it down. So I was looking for a picture. Almost every other miniature matches its picture. This one does not. So, but I'm pretty convinced that this one's him. And so we put him there, and I'm using blue for the player. Okay, so the blue ring is the player. The red ring is our suspect. So that's Slade Harper. And then the black ring is the investor. Now, the investor has a different picture, but everybody that's in the deck, there's like, here I can show you real quick. There's like almost a dozen of them. And they're all the same, and they all, basically they're just business people in suits. You know, he just has his hand in his pocket. So what I did was some of them are investors. So the investors have the black rings, and then some of them that come out are not going to be investors. They're just sort of like, I don't know what they're called in the game or in this particular mission, but I'm going to use the black rings for the investors. So that's the point I'm making. So we're starting the game with our cop at Brook City Police Department, BCPD, and then Slade is in a nightclub, and then there's an investor that started here, and our lead, our first lead, is over here in the woods behind the Tucker and Sons salvage, the junkyard. Okay, so we're going to review one more time the setup, make sure I didn't miss anything, and what exactly we're doing. So like I said, our lead is here. The lead, when we get a lead, we can control it, and we're allowed to control one lead at a time, and then you can ditch it for some kind of ability, which is written on the card up there. The next thing is that here there is a ransom note. So, let's a couple of things. First of all, we remove Mina from the case deck and place it in a criminal play area. Then we remove the ransom note from the case deck and place it in the case play area, placing each clue token on it. Then we shuffle the case deck, and then we flip this card. So that's what we did, and I'm guessing that it goes like this actually instead. So Jewel of the City goes here. So the rules are, while Mina is attached to a lead card, cops may not gain that lead, and it may not be discarded. Ignore all non-case cards that would affect it. When a cop would gain the active lead with a clue token on it, that cop also gains the clue token. Okay, this lead does not have a clue token on it, just to be mindful. Interact. If a cop is near the active lead while Mina is attached to it, that cop may discard any number of hunches to discard an equal number of stress from Mina. Then if Mina has no stress remaining, take control of it. If the cops control Mina, the cops win. So we have to rescue Mina. Mina is the daughter, by the way, of the mayor. So ransom note. Once during their turn, a cop in City Hall may discard up to one. So when you see this little P thing, that's one token per character. The P stands for player, but just to be very clear, if you're one player controlling two characters, it's characters in the game that matter, not the number of physical human players. Hunches to place them on this card. So we can go to the City Hall, discard hunches up to the number of players, which in our case is going to be 1, and place them on this card. And if there is at least 1 per player hunches on this card, we can activate it to discard 1 player hunches to move 1 clue token from this card to the active lead. Limit 1 clue token on the active lead at a time. So all the clue tokens are on this. So the way we can get these clue tokens onto the lead is by moving these. Now, I'm pretty confident that the clue tokens are necessary to arrest the suspect. We're trying to arrest the suspect, Slade Harper, but he's been pretty crafty. Like, he just keeps his hands free, and he doesn't actually commit any of the crimes himself. So we're trying to tie him in because we know he's behind it all. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go up and read his card and understand what we need to do for him. So the case itself is we need to rescue Mina. And like it said, if a cup is near the active lead while Mina's attached to it, well, see, Mina's not attached to any lead yet. If the cups control Mina, we win. If we gain the active lead with a clue token on it, that cup also gains the clue token. So we get clue tokens by putting hunches on here and then moving this to the lead, and then we got to pick up the lead, okay? So that seems to be our sequence that we need to do. I hope that makes sense. All right, so now let's move all the way up here, and that's the thing. Trouble with this is a big-ass board here. Okay, Slade Harper himself. Each time a cop would place progress on Slade, they may instead remove one influence from an investor. Okay, so progress is, I'm going to basically roll dice to, try to bust him. And right here you can see he needs 3 progress per player. And so obviously there's only 1 player, so we would need 3. Bust. If there is no investor in play, Slade loses 1 influence. Otherwise, each cop gains 2 hunches and draws a card. So busting him doesn't mean we win the game. It just means that we charged him for something, and then, his attorneys got him off the hook and he left. But by at least being able to charge him, we delayed him and we get a side benefit. So we can try to bust him, but that's not how you win the game, okay? The Harper setup, we put him in theater F20. We searched the criminal deck for an investor. We did all this already, okay? So then, funding the syndicate. If this card ever has 4 influence on it, we lose, okay? So this is how the gangster wins here, or the suspect. Activate. Now, this activate thing happens, because we've been seeing that word a couple times now. Okay, we do a dispatch phase. Then we take our actions. Then we do what's called the crime phase. The crime phase is going to be, it doesn't exist yet, but we have our player cards, and then up above our player cards is going to be the crime cards, okay? Now, I don't have a lot of table space, so my crime cards are probably just going to be over on the right, but the crime phase happens first, okay? Sorry, I need to make sure it focuses. Okay, crime phase happens first. Then we do a draw phase, so that's where we do some deck management. And then you can see here, then the criminal goes. So what it says is the group activates each card in the criminal play area. That's these cards up here. So those cards up there are going to activate from left to right. So Slade will activate, and then this card that we were just reading will activate, and then the investor will activate, and then Mina activates. So it just goes boop, 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 right down the line with the sound effects, I promise. Okay, so... all right, then the case gets to go. So the case is this thing down here. And so then from left to right, we activate everything in the case. And then we go through a draw phase, and a new case card comes out. And then we do an end phase where every cop flips their turn card and blah, 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 etc. So there's a sequence, and everything's going to get to activate at some point throughout the game. And we just follow that sequence. So what we did is we did it a little bit out of order. The criminal will activate first, and then the case will activate second. And that's where the ransom note would put the clue out, right? When the case activates, that's when the ransom note, if there was a hunch on it, then it puts the clue out on the lead. And by the way, there's always a lead in the game. So as soon as you find a lead and take control of it, we draw another card and put another one on the board. So there's always one lead on the board. Okay, back to this. If an investor has 3 influence on it, discard 3 influence from that investor and Slade gains 1. So this is how Slade wins the game, right? So he needs 4 to win. Slade gains 1 once per criminal turn. So obviously if he had 3 investors, he's not going to get all 3 of them at once. If Slade does not get any influence this way, each cop that does not control a lead must either discard 1 hunch or suffer 1 stress. So we get a penalty for being super efficient. So now, that's the thing. So when we bust Slade, remember it says each time a cop would place a progress on Slade, and that's part of what it takes to bust him, right? You need 3 progress. We could instead remove an influence from an investor, which would prevent him from getting the 4 influence that he's trying to get to win the game. And if we bust him and there's no investor in play, Slade loses an influence. So that's a way we can take one of his 4 away from him. So we can just flat out bust him. But that's only assuming no investor's in play. Well, right now we do have an investor in play. This is Yolanda Cruz. And to bust her, we need 4 progress. And we can bust her and remove her from the game. And here you can see, when she activates, move all influence from each blackmail card to this card. If no influence was moved this way, place 1 on this card. So she's going to get 1 no matter what. And then if there's a blackmail card, she's going to get more. And so we have to be mindful. Blackmail cards can come out through the criminal deck, etc. And maybe even through the case deck. And then Mina herself. When cops control all the clue tokens, discard the active lead, then attach Mina to the new lead. There you go. So we have to find all the clues, and then, and only then, will Mina get attached to the lead, and then we can finally rescue Mina. So here you roll 1 die for each clue on the ransom note. For each critical, place 1 stress on this card. Then if there's 5 or more stress on this card, discard 5 stress from this card, and each cop must either discard a lead or suffer 1 stress themselves. Okay? So Mina is going to be creating stress for the cops. Now, the condition is she rolls 1 die for every clue that's still on the ransom note. And remember, these clues only leave the ransom note if we put a hunch on here. And the only way to put a hunch on here is to go to City Hall. Now, I have no clue where City Hall is, so let's figure that out right now. Obviously, BCPD is here. And the text is really hard for you to read on the camera. I know it is. Like you can see, that's BCPD right there. See those little letters? So bear with me. Oh, it's right north of us. So City Hall, let me get a pen out. City Hall is this building. It says City Hall right here. So this is Brook City, what does that say? DMV? BMV, whatever that is. St. Thomas Hospital, and then this is City Hall. So these 4 squares here are City Hall. And then there's a coffee shop and a fountain walk. Yeah, I don't know what BMV stands for. I was thinking it was Department of Motor Vehicles, but Brook City BMV. Anyways, the City Hall is here. Okay, so we don't have very far to go. We just need to go bing, 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 and then we can interact with the City Hall. Now, like I said, the investor is here, so it's sort of on the way towards the lead, which is interesting. And so I don't know what the right order should be for us as players, but there's definitely a lot to do. And it makes me wish I was controlling 2 characters, in fact. I think one character could be putting hunches in City Hall while the other one's going after the lead. And anyways, we're doing 1. Let's see how it goes. So here's our cards. There's 3 kinds of cards that you can have. There's encounters, there's abilities, and these 2 tend to be discarded. They're like a use once and then discard kind of thing. And then there's what's called traits. And traits are like leveling up your character. And it's just a matter of getting lucky and getting it out of your deck. A trait would get added to your character and actually would also create a left to right situation. So you would just add traits, you know, over here. We have no traits to start the game. We do have our police car. So while this card is not controlled by a cop, we can take control of it. While driving this vehicle, we may move 1 for each crime that's in our crime area. Now, every player or every character in the game has its own crime area. So dispatch is going to give me a particular crime they want me to investigate. But if, you know, Joe Schmo was also playing with us, that's not his crime to investigate. He has his own crime that dispatch gives to him. Does that make sense? So And just to help you to understand, that's the first step of the game, is we do a dispatch phase. And so we're going to refresh the cards in our area, and then we draw a criminal card. If we draw that criminal card, it could lead to it being a crime that goes into our crime area, okay? There's a lot of chains to this game, and I think once you see how the chains go, it's not so bad. And then you can actually ditch your vehicle. So while driving this vehicle, we can move our figure to any location, but then basically the car's destroyed. You remove it from the game. That's what the ditch means. And so we could choose to ditch it. It's a one-time deal, but then we're walking on foot from there. So we got to pick the right time, I guess. And that's my thing with this game, is I don't know what the right time is to do anything. So with that said, let's look at our cards again. Vigilance here is we're going to encounter something, and we get to counter a target up to 5 spaces away. So normally you can only encounter a target that's next to you. But now we can encounter something that's 5 spaces away, and then it gives us 2 dice to do that. Now, what are our dice? Well, didn't get into that either, but here we go. So that's a success, or a progress, if you will. We would be able to put a progress on, or a success on, whatever it is that we're rolling the dice for. That is a critical, which is a success, but then it allows us to roll another die. Okay, so if we were normally only able to roll 2 dice, and I rolled this, I would have 2 successes, and I'd get to roll a third. Okay, the shield is like the Mansions of Madness mechanic. It does nothing for you, but I'm allowed to spend hunches to turn it into a success. Now, if I don't spend any hunches to turn this into a success, I get to take a hunch. So this gives me something, even if I don't use it. So anyways, that's going to be a cool mechanic in the game. And then, of course, that's 1 success and a shield. And that's it. You got basically 3 things you're getting here. None of them necessarily hurt you, except for maybe the shield, because if you don't have any hunches, it hurts you because you're looking for successes, but it gives you hunches, so that's not bad at all. Anyway, so that's what the blue dice on here is representing, and so it's telling you get to roll 2 when you do the encounter. Here, you encounter 2, and then you may suffer 1 stress to put 2 progress on the target no matter what you roll. You get to put 2 more progress. Here you can gain a hunch and then reveal a number of cards in the case deck. And basically, now the key term reveal means literally what it says. You're going to draw them, and you only get to look at them, and then you get to put them back on the deck in any order you choose. And then we have another encounter one where we can reduce the resistance by 1. And that's also really good. And looky here, it's a cautious one. So if somebody has a cautious resistance, we could do this. It would be a cautious approach, but we get to reduce the resistance by 1. It can never be reduced below 0, by the way. Now, our card itself also has an action. Now, this is an action. These cards, if you'll note, don't have the keyword action on them. So why is that important? Well, when it's our turn, we get to do these in any order that we want. I actually didn't realize that when I did the setup video, and I may have misled you, but just want to make sure you know you can do these in any order you want. So we could move our car last, we can move it in the middle, but the one thing we can't do is there is no interrupt. I can't start a move step and then interrupt it to do an action step, okay? That's not allowed in this game. You have to do everything to completion. But a card step is you can play a card or draw a card. I can play any of these cards to do an encounter, okay? The action step lets me do a card action, which is different than playing a card, okay? A card action means it actually has the keyword action written on it. And so that's how I would do that encounter. So one of them I'm doing it via the card step, the other one I'm doing via an action step. So it's 2 different things. And those cards in my hand, I cannot do. But by the way, actions can only be played if they're prepared, and there are no actions for these cards. These are one-time use cards that are done during the card play, they are not done during the action step. In fact, I can't play any of those cards in my hand during the action step. Well, actually, no, because right there, card action. So I can do a hunch, I can interact, I can move, but I can't play a card. So there's only one spot where I get to play those cards that are in my hand. All right, I hope that makes sense. Let's just get playing, and maybe it'll make more sense once we start playing. Maybe it'll make more sense for me once we start playing. I think I know what I want to do. I want to get a hunch into the city hall. Before I take all the time to get over here to this lead, I want to put a clue in that lead. Let's follow the process here. We do a dispatch phase, so we refresh our cards. There's nothing to refresh. We're starting the game brand new. Okay, we're going to draw a criminal card. So that's the card way up here. We just draw the top card of the criminal deck. Then we just do what it says. There's like different things that's going to be on this. It could be, I believe it could be an event, which is going to be, we just resolve the event and it may actually just get discarded from the game. If it's a crime, it's going to go into our player area. And it's going to be a crime assigned to us, or it could be an asset. And if it's an asset, that means Slade gets it, and it gets added to his big long queue up there. So let's figure out what it is. Here, it's a crime. Okay, so this guy is going to be assigned to us, and he's going to go to location B2. So he has a specific location he's going to, and then yes, he activates. He's basically going to punch us in the mouth after we're done. So as you can see here, I got my dude set up. I mean, maybe I can move him down a little, like this, and then his crime area would go like that. So every player would have a crime area directly above their player cards. Okay, so we'll go ahead and try that. He goes on to B2. So we grab one of these guys. And I'm not going to put a black ring on it because the black rings are the investors, right? So let's figure out, I mean, obviously this is 2, and then B is way the bloody up here. So I'm already realizing that moving around this town is not easy. Holy cow. I mean, that's all the way in the corner of the town. That's going to be very difficult. So what's our penalty if we ignore this guy? So we have to place 1 influence on this card or discard 1 card we control. Then if there's 3 or more influence in this card, discard 3 and Slade gets 1. Oh my gosh. So this is, we need to bust that dude. Okay. Not very cool there. I'm beginning to wonder maybe my kids would like to play this game with me. I think it'd be pretty cool. All right. So we did our dispatch phase. Boo. So now we do our action phase. And I do want to go to the city hall. And I'm thinking I now need to change my objective. I was going to go after this investor, but I think I need to go after our crime dude there. So what I want to do is I'm going to do the move step right away. So let's do that. We're going to do a move 3 or discard 1 stress. Okay, so the first thing we can do is part of our step is it's free to move into the car. So we're going to move into the car. And what I do is I just take my miniature and I put it on the car to show that I'm in the car. All right, and so I don't think it matters which way your car's pointing. So I can go 1, because this square moves to that square, and then 2, because this square moves to that square, okay? And then I'm going to stop. I'm only going to do 2 of my 3 movement. And so the next thing I'm going to do is the action step. So the action step allows me to get in a car or get out of a car. So I'm going to get out of a car. I'm going to go into the city hall. And for my action, I'm going to take a hunch. So the hunches are, I believe that's these. These are the hunch tokens. So hunch tokens, progress tokens, or no, I'm sorry, influence. This is the stuff that the crime lords want. Influence tokens, these are the progress tokens, and then of course stress. And then there's other things too. But so we're gonna take a hunch, and the hunch action gives us a hunch, and we put it on our character. Okay. Now this says once during your turn, a cop in City Hall may discard 1 hunch to place it on this card. So I'm going to do that right now. That's a free action. That's not one of the things on here. That's just a freebie thing I get to do because of this. Unless it says the word action, keyword, you can do it as part of your turn, and it's not consuming one of these. Now, so far, I've done the move, and I've done the action. So now the only thing left for me to do is I can do a card step. So I can play a card or I can draw a card. Those are my two choices. And I'm also going to, I'm going to get back in the car again, okay? Getting back in the car again is something that I can do because I'm doing a new step. Every one of these steps lets me get in and out of the card. That's what this note says. You may enter or exit a vehicle once during each step of the action phase. So during the card step, now let's see if there's anything in the card step that I want to actually do. This lets me encounter a target up to 5 spaces away, which is fantastic. However, I'm not 5 spaces away. Yeah, 3 of them are encounters. So this is the only one I could really do. Oh, you know what? I could have done this and then still had an action. You know what? I'm going to do that. This will be my play card step, and I'll gain the hunch through this. And then I still have an action. So what I did was I did an action and called it a hunch action. And now I'm looking at my card step and trying to figure out what to do. What I'm going to do instead is say that I played my card step to get this hunch, okay? And then now I still have an action step left to do. And what I'll do is I'll do a move action. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right. So I do get to do some more things. I get to reveal the number of cards from the case deck equal to the number of hunches I have and return the cards to the top of the deck. So it's going to be just one card. Because before I put the hunch in the ransom note, I would have had that one hunch to look at the top card of the case. So I at least get to see what's coming. And you can see this is going to be an event. If a clue token is on the active lead, discard the active lead and reveal a new one, placing the clue token on the new lead. Okay, that doesn't hurt us so bad. If no clue token is on the active lead, each cop must discard one hunch or place one stress on Mina. Okay, that is bad. And I don't know what the order of events is going to be. Like if we're going to draw this card before we do this action, it depends. If this action occurs first before this card is drawn, then we'll be fine. So let's see how this plays out. All right, so we played our one hunch card. Now we only have 3 cards left in our hand. We do not get to draw back up yet. Now we got to do our action. So as part of our new step, I got into the car, and we're going to move 3 spaces because as part of our action, we can do another move. So this would be 1, 2, and then I'm just going to go 1 more for 3. I could go that way. I don't know if there's one benefit over another. I guess, yeah, I'll go that way. Why not? 1, 2, 3. Okay? So that's it. So now we go to the crime phase. So activate each card in your crime area, left or right, and resolve its activate ability. So here, we're going to place an influence on this card or discard one card we control. Now remember, the cards we control are here. We only control a cruiser. That's it. I don't want to discard that. So, so one influence goes on him. So it's like a little bit of a timer. This feels very much like Eldritch Horror in some ways. There's a lot of Eldritch Horror design elements in here. You can clearly see that the brothers really like that. But I like the way they put their own spin on it because it's clearly not just that. So very cool. I'm digging this so far. I'm not even done with the first round, but I'm sort of getting into it. I actually feel like I'm a cop trying to do something here. And so thematically speaking, I do feel like I'm doing something in the game. And I am finding it interesting the way everything sequences. Okay, next. Draw 1 card and flip this card. Okay, so now we get to draw our from our deck. So we do get to go back up to 4 cards. And so here we go on the double. This is an ability that we can make each cop may move 3. Obviously, this is more helpful if there was more than 1 cop, but I'm still very happy with that. And I'm assuming the move 3 applies. Yeah, it does apply when you're in a vehicle. Okay, so very cool card. that might help us the next time around. All right, so now we flip this card over, and it says, the group activates each card in the criminal play area from left to right. And so I know we went through this. Whoops. I know we went through this, but let's go through it again. In the beginning, I think it takes a little bit. But I think once you get the hang of the game, you can start ripping through this. So again, we look at Slade, and he doesn't do anything. Then we go to funding the syndicate. If an investor has 3, there is no investor that has 3, then Slade would get an influence. If Slade does not gain any influence this way, each cup that does not control a lead must discard a hunch or suffer 1 stress. Okay, we don't have a hunch, so we have to suffer 1 stress. This game is not the kind of game where you can say, well, hey, I'll just lose a hunch because I don't have any. You have to take the penalty that actually will apply or affect you. All right, so we gained 1 stress, and we have 1 out of the 10. And yes, as soon as you hit 10, you don't actually die, you just get fired. But it is a loss of the game. So we're 1/10 of the way there. Okay, so then we move over. Move all influence from each blackmail card to this. I don't think there's any blackmail cards out there, so we're fine. And then here, when cups activate, roll 1 die for each clue on the ransom note. That's going to be all 5 dice. Or there's 5 clues, right? 1, 2, 3. Yep, there's 5 clues. So 1, 2, 3. 5 dice are going to be rolled. And for every critical, we're going to place a stress on that card. And then if there's ever 5 stress on that card, each cup must either discard a lead or suffer 1 stress. Okay, so we don't want criticals. All right, so just moving things around. I got 0 criticals. Wow, that was really good. Really well done. This is the time you don't want to roll criticals, and we did it. That's just a regular success. The critical is that guy. It looks like a punch or an explosion. Okay, so we got really lucky with that one. And that ends the criminal phase. So now we go to the case phase, case turn. Now we activate each card in the case play area from left to right, resolving the activate ability. So we come over to here. This is an interact. So this is not an activate. It's just an interact that if Mina is attached to a lead, which doesn't happen until we get all the clues. So we don't do anything with that card. Then we go to the ransom note, and we know what this one does. It says if there's at least 1 player hunches on this card, discard the hunch, which we will do right now, to move 1 clue token, and it doesn't matter which clue token. Like in other games, it does matter, but this one, it doesn't. Move 1 clue token from this card to the active lead, and there can only be a limit of 1 clue token on the lead at a time. So we're going to put this clue token on the lead. Now we could put it here, or we can put it on the card. I'm just going to put it here because I think it'll help remind us a little bit better. And so we did all that. So now we do the draw phase. So we draw and resolve a case card. So it's going to work out in our favor, right? Because here, this is that event we were talking about. If a clue token is on the active lead, discard the active lead and reveal a new one, placing the clue token on the new lead. Excellent. So we don't get punished with the bottom half, which would have hurt us. So it's a real simple thing. All we do is we come over here to the lead card, and it just gets discarded. And then we just draw a new one. And so this new one is going to be on L29, and you can ditch this during an encounter to gain 1 extra die. So L29 is the new location. So this is just going to move to 29L, which is there, just a tad bit closer to us, but not by much. Still, this game so far is liking the idea of putting things on the edge of the map. Okay, so that event didn't hurt us too badly. And then we end the phase. Each cup flips their turn card to its cup turn side, which just simply means we do that. All right, so now we could refresh our cards. One thing I forgot to do, and I hope you'll allow me to do it because it won't affect the game other than I just forgot to do it during my turn. I'm in this cop car and it has an ability that I can exhaust the card while driving this vehicle to move one for each crime in my crime area. I have one crime in my crime area, so I could have moved one, and then what would have happened is I would have exhausted the card. So the move one is very beneficial because, as you know, I want to move faster, right? So that would have moved me up one more spot. Now, at the dispatch phase, I get to refresh my cards, so this would get refreshed so I could do that again. Okay, so that was the thing I forgot to do, and I hope not too many people took the time to try to type into YouTube and say, what are you doing? All right, so we just finished a whole round. That was 40 minutes, and that was with a lot of rules explanation. So I think you can get a feel that these rounds are not very long. And once we start to understand what all the activates are, it could be even quicker. Now, of course, if any of you watch my videos, you know that this is my Achilles heel, is I start to forget things. So I'm going to try to be deliberate about the activates. But anyways, we just finished one round. Things are slowly percolating to a boil. I definitely can feel that this stuff is just going to keep, more stuff is going to just keep coming onto the map. And if I don't start mitigating things, this could get a little out of control. So anyways, I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to just see you in 2 seconds. So thanks for watching, and stay awesome.